Welcome to another edition of the Dental Today podcast. Thank you for stopping by. This is brought to you by Lab Media TV. My name is Hezekiah Morales, and here we go. Remember to follow us on social media at Lab Media TV. Mr. Eugene Royzengurt has been working in the dental industry since 1996. He began as a dental assistant, later becoming an in-house dental laboratory technician specializing in removable prosthodontics. Mr. Royzengurt's education includes a degree in denturism from the American Denturist College, an Associates of Science degree and certificates in dental assisting and radiology, and is also currently pursuing a bachelor's degree in denturism. He has published several peer-review articles on the subject of removable prosthetics and currently lectures in the United States and internationally. Gene and his family currently reside in Sandy, Utah, where he owns and operates APPLE Dental Laboratory and is an adjunct faculty instructor for the American Denturist College. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Eugene Royzengurt. Eugene, how you doing?
I'm good, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic, and I'm very happy to finally have the opportunity for us to sit down for a couple of minutes and chat. Last year, we actually tried to have a sit down, but when all this situation happened, we just had to postpone. And a year later, here we are. It's good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too. Wish it was in person, but you know, we'll settle for this at this time.
We have to, right? We've had to adjust a lot. I remember a year ago, we actually ran into each other in Chicago. In Chicago, actually, the escalator, and it was great meeting you there and beginning to follow your work, which is very inspiring. And there's so many questions that I have for you. Again, you know, it would have been nice being in Chicago this weekend, right? But things have changed a little, or a lot, really. But so great to see you, Eugene. How's everything been throughout this whole situation?
You know, it's kind of been an interesting journey, and but all in all, I can't complain. Still working, still making you know, teeth, and still teaching. So still have my health. Still have my family's health, so can't complain.
Wow, and the adjustments with this whole situation, do you have a one thing that certainly sticks out in your mind?
Well, yes. I had to pretty much rebuild my entire office to, well, where the digital stuff is, to be like a video studio, because a lot of teaching that I was doing, maybe traveling and stuff, I started doing online. And also with my other job as an instructor for the American Denturist College, I had to do more and more and more stuff, and kind of ended up building out. And then this kind of had to create this background and everything else.
But that's not something foreign to you, since in the academy or in the college, you also teach photography, so it wasn't something foreign to you. So it was just a little adjustment.
Just a little bit of adjustment, yeah, but a little bit of work, and just kind of getting equipment together and everything else. It was kind of fun, to be honest with you. I'm not complaining. It was a lot of work to build all of this, but it was a lot of fun as well.
Absolutely. And what are you the camera that you're shooting on? Obviously, I can see the bokeh back there. What are you at? 1.8, 1.6 aperture?
I think I'm at 2.8 right now.
Oh, wow. 2.8. Wow. All right. Well, that bokeh looks really, really creamy back there. Really nice.
It's a really nice lens. It's a Sigma lens, the 2.8 for that Sony. It creates a really, really nice look with it.
Fantastic. I can definitely appreciate that look, and I appreciate you taking the time to get yourself in a really nice position for this. Now, when I begin to read your story and your journey began here in the United States in 1996. You came from Ukraine in 94. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
All right. And what led you to get involved into the dental field?
You know, I was always fascinated with dentistry since I was a child, and I've kind of liked the equipment and all the detail and the building stuff with it. And when I was in high school here in Utah, one of the like a concurrent type of education things that was going on at the time through the local college was a dental assisting program. And because of my fascination with dentistry and this opportunity, I signed up for it. And I think at the time it was like it was $20 or something like this for like the book and the lab coat, which the money wasn't even like minuscule pretty much. And I signed up, and it was kind of a fun course. And at the end, you do an externship for your certification. And one of the local offices took me in for the externship. And once I was done, I actually started working for them. So that was the start of my journey.
Wow. You got involved in dentistry just by curiosity then?
Yes. It was just something fun to do and ended up being a career.
Wow. But so you didn't begin in the laboratory, and that's what really caught my attention. You began in a different area within the dental industry. So now, where did this transition begin, or how did this even start? You getting into the laboratory side of it?
It's kind of a long journey, because I started as a dental assistant, and I was working, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years at the time. And I was going to school at the same time to actually become a dentist. So I was doing my undergraduate work. I was getting my bachelor's in biology. And I was thinking that I'm going to go into dental school and the whole 9 yards. But somewhere kind of my third year or so, I started getting to this, like, well, I don't think I want to do chairside as much as I actually enjoy doing lab work, because I got an opportunity to do like little things there in the office, because we had a small lab, and I was able to do like little repairs and maybe do like a flipper or so. I was like, you know what, I'm really enjoying this. And somewhere along the line, I ended up switching paths and going into the laboratory field instead. And I did that for quite a few years now, actually. So I've had my own lab since about 2007, so it's been a few years.
Wow. Wow. So you've always been a hands-on personality.
Yes. I've always been kind of like a tinkerer and a bit of a problem solver, and like a MacGyver type of thing. DIY setup was always kind of like my thing. And it kind of led me into the laboratory field, because, a lot of lab guys and girls are problem solvers. We're dealing with these kind of extraordinary situations. We're trying to find solutions. So that's one of the reasons I kind of ended up dealing with it.
And with the background in the dental assisting, what elements of that background actually transferred over or were transposed into what you were doing as a dental laboratory professional?
Well, in order for you to understand what you do completely, you need to have both sides of the story. So whenever you're working in the lab, oftentimes you're not privy to the clinical situation or clinical information, and you don't necessarily know what goes on in the office. By being a dental assistant and dealing with a lot of that stuff, I was able to kind of bring it into the laboratory side and understand what we need to do in order to kind of connect the two together. So that helped me quite a bit from that standpoint.
So it was more so the experience of being on the other side and a piece of the puzzle that you felt completed what you were doing.
Well, it didn't necessarily complete it. It definitely helped put the put things together. But there are so many pieces to this puzzle that it pretty much takes a lifetime to complete it, I think.
Very, very interesting. Now, what would you say to a dental technician that doesn't have that experience? Where can they educate themselves or find resources where they can obtain these elements where they can embellish their work?
Well, oftentimes the clinicians you're working with will be more than happy to kind of show you the protocols, because they're actually interested themselves to have you be knowledgeable about the subject matter. And on the flip side, it often helps for the clinicians to see the laboratory side of things, because they oftentimes just know the clinical part and don't know the laboratory aspects of things. And because of that, things kind of get lost in translation, as they say. So for both, communicate with your doctors, communicate with your clinicians, and kind of get acquainted with both the clinical and laboratory aspects of doing things.
Okay, so you're pointing them more towards opening up a line of communication with the people whom they are already working with, the clinicians they're already working with, so that they can get that side, that perspective. That's fantastic. And so you begin your journey as a dental technician, an in-house dental technician, however.
Yes, that's how I started. It was kind of a slight transition from being a dental assistant into becoming a dental technician. And from that point, around 2008 or so, I went out. I had my lab since 2007, but I was still kind of doing that and in-house. But in 2008, I switched completely into just having my own lab and not doing in-house work anymore.
Did you feel any different? Obviously, other than being separate from the clinical side, did you feel any different being just a lab and not in the clinic anymore?
Not from the standpoint of observance or anything, observing things. I felt a little bit more stressed because once I switched from that to just the lab side, the amount of work just went through the roof as well, and ended up working longer hours and everything else that is associated with usually running your own lab. When you're working for somebody else, you don't necessarily have to deal with the crazy hours. You don't have as much freedom as you do, but you definitely have a lot more time. So
you were introduced to the lab life pretty quick.
I did, and if you remember, 2008 was kind of like a difficult situation in the country, and that's actually one of the reasons why I ended up having my own lab, because the office I worked for was primarily working with like Medicaid patients, and Medicaid lost a lot of funding, so I kind of had to make a choice. So I ended up hopefully making the right one. Wow. From that standpoint, yeah.
Wow. And so your journey begins back in 2007, obviously. 2008, you begin separate from where you were before. And we're talking about quite a bit of time from then to here. What are some of the most important lessons that you've learned concerning the excellence in your craft?
Well, taking your time is the most important thing, I think, because when you're rushing just to get something finished, oftentimes it's going to show. If you want to create a custom product, it takes time. Things just don't happen like that. It doesn't happen quickly. And also, if you are frustrated with the way that things are turning out, give it time. You can't end up doing a good job right away. I mean, there's probably some people that have this amazing talent. They can do a beautiful denture right from the start. But for the most of us, it takes time. And as they say, it takes 5 years or so for you to get to point one, to where you can actually start making something that's decent. And then it takes a lifetime to perfect your craft.
Very interesting. Time. And so what would be your perspective on those whom, again, would possibly be where you are or where you were, starting your own lab, finding yourself with a lot of work, and so time is certainly not a commodity many can dispose of?
Yeah. You know what? Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's families are different. Some people have a family, some people don't. Some people's commitments are different as well. Some people want to spend a lot of time in the laboratory making stuff. Some people just want to be 9 to 5 and get out. So I can't really make a judgment on this type of situation. Take it as it comes. Look at your goals. More importantly, what your goals are. Do you want to be you know, somebody who's going to make a living and spend time with their family and do this, or you want something that's just maybe extraordinary. For me personally, I think I've spent a little bit too much in the lab and not enough time with my family. And that's something that I'm working on changing. And you have to find a balance. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. You have to find balance in your life. If you don't have balance, you're not going to be happy no matter what.
Right. And it seems, based on the conversations that I've had with dental technician professionals that either run their own lab or running another lab or anything associated or related to any of these, that's one of the things that they struggle with. Now, at what point did you realize, I believe I must sit down back at the drawing board and figure out I need to give more time to my family?
As you get older, you hopefully become a little wiser and you have a different perspective on things. And with me, I started realizing things a little bit later, looking at things and talking to my kids and seeing that look in their eye and having my wife be a little bit more upset with me than usual. And then you kind of start going, okay, enough's enough. You need to start dialing back. And I'm trying. I can't say that I have, but I'm trying to do that because I have several projects that I'm trying to finish up right now. And as soon as I'm done with those projects, it's going to slow down. Or at least I'm hoping it will.
The hope.
The hope is still alive.
The hope is still alive. So when you're developing your lab and continuing to grow in your craft, continuing to learn, then the opportunity presents itself, or do you seek it to share what you've learned thus far? How did that happen when you began to speak internationally and here in the United States?
Well, it all started with a Facebook kind of thing. You know, there's a group on Facebook that's called Damaged Goods Unite, started by a good friend of mine, Von Groh, and a few wonderful people that are part of this whole organization. And when that opened up, I really was kind of excited because you have to understand, before the whole Facebook thing and everything else, the sharing part of the industry wasn't really
wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't a thing. Everybody was kind of closed up. We had it was a Dental Lab Network forum. There's some things going on there, but once the Facebook opened up, it kind of just exploded. So I started on there, and then I actually became part of the Dental Technicians Guild in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. And from that point on, I started talking to people. I started learning a lot from people, and I started sharing my stuff. And over the years, I've picked up a lot of information from other people, and I started kind of using myself as the medium to take that information and kind of spread it around. Because from what I actually show people, maybe 10 or 20% is my own thing. Everything else I've learned from somebody else. And when I remember, I try to give credit, but oftentimes there's so many people that taught me stuff, I just can't remember everybody. So I'd like to take this opportunity once again to thank everybody that has taught me all this wonderful stuff. But with the sharing and everything else, and with my ability to speak Russian, and with friends overseas, I was kind of able to start traveling a little bit, and here in US and Canada and Europe as well. So it kind of just worked out. I didn't really make it happen. It's pretty much got lucky because I was talking to people and they say, hey, do you want to come and do this? And yeah, let's try it. And it just worked, I guess.
Wow. So you are on Facebook, you are part of this, or you joined this group, then you joined the organization, and based on your networking and the people that you met and the conversations, that's when it all started.
Yes.
Wow. And what was your first gig? Do you remember?
International or local?
Both.
So internationally, I did a course in Ukraine, in Kiev. I think it was 2014 or 16. I can't remember. I'm sorry. The years just kind of been skipping by. And in the States, I actually did a couple of courses here in Utah for doctors. But my first kind of like travel outside the state of Utah was when we went to Orlando, Florida. Was my very first one I did with Vaughn. We actually flew down there with Vaughn, so it was kind of fun.
So you came to the that was the what is it? FDLA.
I think it was actually AACD, if I'm not.
Oh, okay, all righty, absolutely, yeah. They every year it's in Orlando. That's right, AACD. Wonderful. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. It's always something that I really like to hear how those connections begin, because, or how your process in public speaking began, because there are a lot of professionals out there, regardless of the field and the industry, that have so much to share, but they think to themselves, how am I ever going to make the connections, or how am I ever going to be on stage just like that individual? And it's wonderful to hear your experience, how starting in a Facebook group, you began that traction. What was your last gig before this whole craziness happened? Because I know you're teaching online, and we're going to get into that in a bit, but your in-person gig.
Chicago.
Chicago.
That was the last one.
Wow. And so right now you're doing your online gigs as well. You're teaching a lot online. Do you have do you do this for other companies, or do you also have your own platform?
I teach, well, the last course online I did was for GC America. I did a webinar for them on the digital denture customization with composite. And I also done one for Vita, North America. But mostly the online stuff that I do right now is for the college. That's stuff that we're building the curriculum and everything else for the courses. So those are the main ones that I do pretty much weekly. I have to end up making 1 or 2 videos for the students, and it's actually been kind of nice because you're able to get it recorded, get it edited, and just get the essence of it to the students. And I think it helps them out a lot as well. So you're not kind of rushing things. You can just take your time and get it done properly.
Wow. So you said it's kind of nice, and I was expecting for you to say something else, but you said because of the process and everything. But I'm assuming with the in-person that has been taken away to a degree, the online expectation is much higher. So you have a lot of work. Although it's only two lessons online, you have to set up the camera and prepare everything, and then you have to do some post, then you have to clean up your audio, all that. So how do you manage presenting a product of excellence, not so much to the doctor, but to the patient at the end of the day, but also keeping up with your online engagements?
Lack of sleep.
Oh man.
So that's pretty much it. That's how I manage. Lack of sleep. Because it takes 4 or 5 hours. Well, yeah, about five, maybe 5, 6. I go to bed very late and I wake up not too early. But yeah, you're right. It takes a while, because a 20-minute video takes 4 or 5 hours to do, because you're shooting with this camera, then you got the camera overhead, then you got this one, and you have to splice everything together in Shotcut and then run audio, and and I had to learn all of this too, because getting into this, I'm more of a photography kind of guy. I'm not a videography one. So it was an interesting journey. Let's put it that way. It still is.
And since what you're teaching is hands-on, you can't just use a switcher.
No,
it doesn't work for you. So it just complicates it a little more. That very, 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 very interesting, because while you're saying all this, I'm thinking, well, a switcher could work, but then I'm like, nope, it can't work in this situation. So what software do you use to edit?
I use Shotcut.
Shotcut. That's an online software?
No, you just it's a PC. I downloaded it to my PC.
Oh.
It's open source software, It's a little glitchy at times, so you have to back up. And I do have, the Adobe
Premiere
Suite,
Pro.
Premiere Pro and everything else, but I just need the time to sit down and learn it because it does require quite a bit of learning curve, and I spend a lot of time learning other stuff like digital dentistry at this time. So this is going to have to wait. I'm keeping it simple at this point.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, but what you said was spot on. A 20-minute video is not 20 minutes, and I believe that's what many people don't really get when they see a finally produced video. It's not that simple. The color grading, the audio, the splicing, all that good stuff. That's amazing that you were able to transfer your knowledge when it comes to photography and begin to build on that for your video. For your video work recently. Now, again, you're continuing your online work. You're continuing with your lab. Do you have any plans on teaching any in-person courses anytime soon?
Yes. So far, I'm planning to do a course in the summer in Ukraine, actually, if the borders are going to be open. So that'd probably be my first one. It's kind of been a nice little break because before the whole pandemic, I traveled at least once a month, and it's kind of been a little bit more relaxing, but I'm ready to get back into it. Let's put it that way.
Right, absolutely. Boots on the ground, gentlemen.
Yeah. It's time to go,
great. Yeah, it's time to pack your bags and roll out. And if you don't do it, maybe your wife will say, all right, honey, it's time for you to go. That's awesome. And so that's what you're doing now. What projects do you have in the future with all this that has changed? Do you have something in your business plan that you've adjusted that you're looking forward to? What are some things that you have your eye set on?
At this point, I haven't been making any kind of long-term plans. My plan at this point is to do less. I think I've bit off a bit too much, and I'm having a really hard time chewing it. So once I'm done with my bachelor's and with the curriculum for these few classes, I think I'm going to kind of take a step back and hopefully spend more time with the family and maybe work a little less with cases and just kind of keep that afloat. And I think over time, I'm going to spend more time teaching and less time working. But it's kind of a catch-22. You can't really teach if you don't work. I mean, you can't, but it's not going to be the same level of things. So I'm probably going to concentrate on more complex cases and more involved cases and let more everyday kind of stuff slide by and have somebody else do that for me.
That's fantastic. So you're looking to, although you mentioned that you don't have any particular plan, but what your outlook is, the focus on education, sharing the knowledge, sharing the craft. Now, this is something that I've been considering for a while, and with what you were mentioning about going back to school, and also you were going to school to become a dentist at one point. As a dental technician, professional, I've heard, or what is your perspective on the following? I've heard many say that it has a lot to do with an artistic side, and then I've heard many say that it has a lot to do with the biological side, and then many marry it. But there's either more artistic, more of the functionality, all that good stuff, and obviously one can't work without the other. But what is your focus when you teach? Is it the actual hands-on, or is it the philosophy behind the dental technician's craft?
I try to kind of stick to the more complex protocols. So oftentimes it becomes, how do you get to this point? How do you problem solve? I do teach quite a bit on the artistic portion of things as well, creating natural looking gingiva with composite, for example. But lately it's been more, okay, so we have this really complex situation with implants. How do we get from point A to point B? So a lot of it has been more on function lately, and setting up these kind of protocols to get to a situation where you're not going to fail.
Right. So it would be more of a scientific approach, a step-by-step process optimization.
Optimization and problem solving. Yeah, those are the two things that I've kind of tried to focus on at this point.
Very interesting. And earlier in your career, was that the case?
Earlier, it was more on the artistic side. I was more of a how to make a more natural looking prosthesis.
Okay, and where did the let's not say shift, but where did the paradigm begin to shift over to functionality, the processes,
with the complexity of cases?
So there were some cases that were less forgiving.
Yes. The more comfortable you become in your craft, the more challenging work you will start doing. Simply because if you are not comfortable, you're just not going to grab it. Or at least maybe somebody forces you to do something more challenging. So because of that, you start getting and dealing with these type of situations, and that's where that shift happened for me.
Wow, you started accepting more complex cases, and that's where the demand for you to shift came in. Who have been some of the greatest influences, if you can name them? If not, well, it's all right. But if you can name a few of them.
There's so many that I can't. I mean, there are many great technicians, very great denturists, clinicians, dentists, that I take a little bit from everybody. I can't really name just one.
So as it's always said in these types of podcasts, it's the industry is just a beautiful industry.
It is, yes. There are too many friends to name, and there are too many teachers to name, and a huge thanks to all of them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Eugene, where can we follow you? I know you have videos, but where can we follow you on Instagram, Facebook?
I'm on both, actually, on Instagram and Facebook. I do a lot of my postings on Instagram, and on Facebook I post quite a bit in Oral Architects group, which is mostly for removable pros, and sometimes I'll post in the Damaged Goods Unite group as well, but all of my stuff usually ends up on my Instagram account. It's just Gene Royzengurt, and I think that's my name on Instagram. I don't know my name on Instagram.
That's what it is. Yes, that's what it is.
I don't spend a lot of time learning those little aspects of things. I'm concentrating more on teeth, so maybe I should start kind of balancing stuff out a little bit more.
That's amazing. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time, Eugene. Again, we understand that a gentleman in your stature is very, very busy. Again, we are very excited that we were able to finally sit down and have a chat after a year of trying to get this thing together. But it's been wonderful having this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, all of Eugene's information, how you can find him, his Instagram, Facebook, you can find it in the details below, the description below. Once again, Eugene, thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Dental Today podcast, we will see you on the next episode.